Let's begin with a question that's going to challenge everything you think you know about your life. What if the worst things that ever happened to you were not punishments, misfortunes, or curses, but invitations? What if the pain was a portal? What if you've been initiated into something far greater than you've ever been told? I'm not asking this lightly. I've lived it, and if you're watching this, you probably feel it too, that quiet, haunting suspicion that the chaos in your life has a deeper meaning. That your suffering wasn't random. That something in the pain changed you. And maybe you haven't been able to explain it, but you can't deny it either. You're not like other people. You see through things. You feel more. You question more. You've been through fire, and somehow you're standing. And not just standing, you're waking up. That's no accident. Chosen ones are not chosen because they're special. They're chosen because they said yes to transformation, even when it came in the form of devastation. The universe doesn't speak through comfort. It speaks through crisis. The sacred speaks loudest through your collapse, your heartbreak, your betrayal, your loneliness. And those events, those painful, soul-shattering moments are not the end. They are the activation. The beginning of your real life, the life your soul came here to live. And so we begin with the first painful event, the moment you lose everything you thought you needed. Maybe it was a job, a relationship, a home, a title, something you built your identity around. Then one day gone, and at first it feels like death. You question everything. You feel like a failure. But here's what you don't realize until later. That loss freed you. You were trapped in a version of yourself too small for your destiny. You were clinging to survival when your soul came for arrival. And the universe knew you wouldn't let go, so it took it from you. Not to punish you, but to position you. Because chosen ones don't walk paths, they forge them. And that first loss, that's the fire that melts away the false self so the real self can emerge. Then comes betrayal, the second painful gift. Someone you trusted deeply turns on you. Maybe they lied. Maybe they abandoned you. Maybe they used your love against you. And it breaks something in you. Your innocence. Your belief in people. Maybe even your belief in yourself. But here's the hidden gift. Betrayal cuts the cords of codependency. It wakes you up to the truth of your own power. Chosen ones often give too much, love too hard, hold on too long. And betrayal is the divine scalpel that severs what you were too loyal to release. It's brutal, but it's clean. And in the silence that follows, you meet someone you've never fully met before you. Then comes isolation. And this one is where many give up. You lose your tribe, your support system. You feel like no one understands you anymore. Your frequency starts shifting and suddenly people fall away. You're alone with your thoughts, your fears, your awakening, and it hurts. But isolation is not exile, it's incubation. You're not being abandoned, you're being recalibrated. The universe is pulling you away from noise so you can hear what's real, so you can hear yourself, so you can hear God. In that silence, your gifts start to surface. Your vision sharpens, your discernment activates. And slowly, you realize that the loneliness wasn't a punishment, it was a preparation. And then, just when you start to find your footing, life throws you into the fourth painful event, the dark night of the soul. This is not depression. It's something deeper. It's cosmic. It's spiritual amnesia. You wake up one day and nothing makes sense. Your old beliefs collapse. Your identity dissolves. You can't pray. You can't manifest. You can't feel anything. You are floating in the void, and it terrifies you. But this darkness is not empty, it's full of truth, full of the divine, full of the version of you that is emerging from the ashes. The dark night strips away every illusion. And when it's done with you, you don't just believe in God, you embody God. You don't need to be told who you are, you remember. Are you starting to see it? The pattern? The pain is not the enemy. The pain is the doorway, and only those with the courage to walk through it ever discover what's on the other side. Think back to the worst moment in your life. Now ask yourself, what did it awaken in you? What did it teach you? What did it destroy that needed to go? What did it reveal about who you really are? Because this is the path of the chosen. Not easy, not glamorous, but sacred. And it's only just beginning.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
You see, if you've made it through the first waves of pain, the losses, the betrayals, the isolation, the dark night, then you've already crossed thresholds most people never touch in their lifetime. But the journey doesn't end there. In fact, the deeper gifts are just beginning to reveal themselves, because the next 3 painful events aren't just about breaking you down, they're about activating you. They're the divine setup. The exact moments where the universe places you in situations so intense, so unbearable, that the only way out is to become more than who you were. Let's talk about trauma. Real trauma. The kind that lives in the body. The kind that changes the way you breathe, the way you walk into a room, the way you trust. It could be childhood trauma, emotional abuse, physical violation, or the subtle trauma of being unseen and unheard for too long. And I won't sugarcoat it, trauma is a wound. It's real, and it can take years to process. But here's a truth that most spiritual teachings avoid. Trauma, when transmuted, becomes power. Not theoretical power, but energetic mastery. Why? Because trauma forces you to develop spiritual muscles you didn't even know existed: discernment, boundary setting, deep empathy, cellular memory, soul-level awareness. It forces you to feel what others avoid, to know what others deny. And when you do the work, when you stop running from your pain and start alchemizing it, it doesn't just heal you, it upgrades you. Have you ever noticed that the most powerful healers are the ones who've been broken? The most intuitive people are the ones who've been deeply hurt. That's not a coincidence. That's spiritual physics. The deeper the wound, the greater the wisdom if you face it. If you do the inner work, if you stop identifying with your trauma and start transfiguring it. And when that happens, something wild begins to take place. You stop being triggered by your past, and you start channeling it. You take the very thing that tried to destroy you and you turn it into fuel, into art, into medicine, into supernatural vision. That is the hidden gift of trauma. Then there's rejection. Oh, the sting of it. Being cast out, being misunderstood, being told you're too much or not enough, being pushed away by the very people you loved. It cuts deep, and it often leaves you asking, why am I never chosen? Why am I always the outsider? But here's the twist that flips everything. Rejection is divine redirection. The universe is not denying you, it's protecting you, keeping you out of rooms that would have distorted your essence, blocking you from relationships that would have dimmed your light, preventing you from shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold your magnitude. Chosen ones often experience chronic rejection, and it's not because they're broken, it's because they're set apart. You weren't meant to blend in. You weren't meant to be universally liked. You were meant to stand out not in ego, but in frequency. You carry something rare. Something inside? And not everyone is calibrated to receive it. So when you're rejected, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, start asking deeper questions. What is this rejection trying to reroute me toward? What is the upgrade hidden in this no? Because every rejection is a portal in disguise. A portal to alignment, to authenticity, to higher purpose. And then comes the final, most terrifying initiation, rock bottom. The moment where everything falls apart. You have no money, no direction, no support, no idea who you are anymore. You stare into the abyss and it stares back. And here's the truth that no one tells you until you've lived it: rock bottom is sacred. It is the womb of rebirth, the soil of resurrection. Because when you have nothing left to lose, you become limitless. When everything you depended on is stripped away, you finally learn how to depend on something greater, on source, on your higher self, on divine intelligence. Rock bottom doesn't kill you. It kills your ego. It kills your false identities. It kills your illusions. And in the ashes of that death, your true self begins to rise. Not the version of you that was performing for approval, chasing success, or addicted to control, but the real you. The you who is sovereign, unshakable, unstoppable. And when that version activates, when you finally stop resisting the collapse and start embracing the silence, the emptiness, the unknown, that's when you meet your supernatural power. That's when you realize you were never broken. You are always being rebuilt. So I ask you from the deepest part of my being, what if your trauma is your training? What if your rejection is your recalibration? What if your rock bottom is your launch pad? What if the breakdown you're in right now is the exact pressure needed to reveal your destiny? This isn't just a motivational idea. This is spiritual law. The universe breaks open those it trusts the most. And if you're being broken open, it's because you're being entrusted with something sacred. By now, you might be seeing what was invisible before. The pain wasn't senseless, it was sacred. The suffering wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And that changes everything. Because when the chosen one begins to awaken to this truth, something extraordinary happens. Suffering no longer defines you. It refines you. It refines you. It becomes the raw material for something far greater purpose. And that's what this part of the journey is about. Not just surviving the pain, not just rising from it, but transforming it. Turning it into a frequency that serves. Turning it into a legacy that liberates. That's the alchemy of awakening. Most people spend their lives avoiding pain, distracting themselves, sedating themselves, pretending to be okay. But chosen ones, real chosen ones, we don't run from pain. We go into it. We face it hidden. And in doing so, we unlock something that can't be taught in books, courses, or sermons. We unlock embodied wisdom. The kind of wisdom that doesn't just inform, it transforms. The kind that makes you magnetic, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you've been through the fire and you carry the scent of truth. And this is where the shift happens. When you've faced enough darkness, you realize your purpose isn't something outside of you, it's inside the wound. It was never about finding your calling. It was about remembering it. And the wound is the teacher. The wound is the doorway. The wound is the map. Your deepest pain holds the coordinates to your highest service. That's why chosen ones so often become healers, artists, guides, creators. Because we didn't learn our truth, we lived it. And now we carry it not as theory, but as presence. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've met someone who didn't have to say much, but when they walked into the room, you felt it. You felt their depth, their clarity, their groundedness. That's not charisma. That's alchemized pain. That's someone who died and came back different. Someone who faced their demons and made peace with them. Someone who turned their scars into sacred symbols. And that's what you're becoming. That's what you're remembering. But here's the paradox. The more you awaken, the more responsibility you carry. Not responsibility in the sense of pressure or performance, but in presence. You begin to understand that your life is no longer just about you. It's about what moves through you. It's about who you activate by simply being yourself. Because when you've turned suffering into purpose, you become a mirror that reflects back to others what is possible. You become a permission slip, a walking transmission, a lighthouse for those still lost in the storm you've already survived. And suddenly, every painful event makes sense. The loss taught you surrender. The betrayal taught you discernment. The isolation taught you self-connection. The trauma taught you empathy. The rejection taught you sovereignty. The rock bottom taught you resurrection. Every moment that broke you was really building you. Every scar became a portal to truth. And now, you don't just have a story, you have a medicine. And here's the most beautiful part. When you begin to live from this place, you don't need to convince anyone of who you are. Your energy speaks. Your frequency teaches. Your presence heals. And that's when you realize you don't need a stage, a platform, or a title. You just need to live fully aligned. Because alignment is louder than words. And authenticity is more powerful than performance. So let me ask you something only you can answer. What if your life is the sermon? What if your healing is the offering? What if your presence is the proof that the divine is real? This is the alchemy, turning pain into purpose, turning wounds into wisdom, turning your life into a living prayer. And when you do that, when you fully surrender to the transformation, you stop chasing impact and you become it. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey where you realize your healing was never just for you. It was never just about becoming stronger, wiser, more awakened. It was a preparation for something much bigger, something cosmic. You begin to feel it in your bones, that pull, that pressure, that undeniable sense that something is shifting in the world and that you are meant to play a role in it. That's not your ego speaking. That's your assignment awakening. Because the world is not just changing, it's restructuring. The old paradigms are collapsing. The energy grids are realigning. And the chosen ones? We are being summoned. You can feel it, can't you? The way the world no longer makes sense the way it used to. The systems are outdated. The values are inverted. The noise is deafening. And yet, beneath all of it, there's a quiet frequency rising. A new rhythm. A new resonance. The earth herself is calling in a new blueprint, and it cannot be built by the same consciousness that created the old one. It requires a new kind of leader. Not the loudest voice, not the richest, not the most followed, but the most true, the most whole, the most aligned. That's you. You see, the reason your path has been so brutal is because you weren't just being prepared to survive, you were being prepared to lead. Not in the traditional sense, not from a podium or a pulpit, but through presence, through embodiment, through your very being. Because we don't need more influencers, we need initiators. People who carry the codes of the new earth. People who walk with integrity, who speak from soul, who live from a place of deep spiritual maturity. And those people? They've been forged in fire. They've died 1,000 inner deaths. They've faced their shadows. And now they rise not to dominate, but to illuminate. You know this. You've felt it. That sense that your time is coming, that your voice matters, that your story has weight, that your pain has purpose, that everything you've endured was not wasted, it was woven into a tapestry that the world needs to see. Because here's the truth. The new earth cannot rise without the chosen ones stepping into their truth. The healers, the empaths, the visionaries, the mystics, the creators, the rebels, the souled leaders. This is our time. But with that calling comes a choice, a sacred responsibility. Will you shrink, or will you stand? Will you hide behind your past, or will you use it as fuel? Will you wait for permission, or will you become the permission? Because the final shift isn't something that happens to you, it's something that happens through you. You are the shift. You are the frequency. You are the living bridge between the old world and the new. And yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it's overwhelming. Yes, it's lonely. But you didn't come here to be comfortable. You came here to remember. You came here to awaken. You came here to anchor heaven into earth. And the moment you stop waiting for someone else to do it and realize you are the one, everything begins to change. So I ask you, deeply and sincerely, what are you waking for? What would your life look like if you stopped holding back? If you stopped negotiating with your greatness, if you finally said yes to the role your soul came here to play. Because this is it. This is the moment. The earth is rising and she's calling her chosen ones to rise with her. Not someday. Not after you're ready. Now. Right now. The final shift is not on the horizon, it's here. And you're not watching this by accident. You've been summoned. Not just to awaken, but to lead. Not just to speak truth, but to be truth. And so with every breath, every step, every choice, you become the future. You become the proof that humanity can evolve. That pain can be alchemized. That love is stronger than fear. That one awakened soul can ripple across the world. You are not too late. You are not too broken. You are not too small. You are exactly on time. and you are exactly who the world has been waiting for. Let the old world fall. Let the illusions fade. Let the old self die, because the new earth is rising, and so are you.